Hello, everybody. Welcome back to an episode of Red Dead Redemption Character Analysis. We're back here. Just, it's been a while since the last episode, but just trying to, again, like I've been saying with other series on the channel, been busy with that. And just, we're looking, honestly, I'm looking to wrap this Red Dead series up real soon for character analysis. Just want to cover a few more characters, again, as I was saying in the earlier character analysis episodes. I just kind of want to cover everything and make sure, just because I enjoy Red Dead, especially the second one, has a lot more in-depth characters, and I really want to cover everything I can, especially with the more important characters in Red Dead 2. So of course today we're going to be doing Sadie Adler. She's a very important character. She really helped out, especially towards the end of Red Dead, the Red Dead 2 story. She really helped out Arthur and everything. If you play the story, you know what she did. She did a lot of heroic stuff again towards the end. But she's just a very important character. So of course I want to kind of do a character analysis here on an important character. So Sadie Adler, of course, we're just going to get right into it. Just of course getting all my info from the Red Dead Wiki, good site. So kind of her background. Sadie grew up in a harsh environment and learned to hunt animals and ride horses in her youth. On September 7th, 1896, she became married to Jake Adler. The couple lived on a ranch in the state of Ambrino. I think that's how you pronounce that name in the Red Dead map, where they shared their work evenly between them and they had a happy marriage. It's kind of what Sadie went into in one of the missions in Red Dead 2. She is in Red Dead Online, I'll talk about that. When the player first arrives at the Adler Ranch, they meet Jake, who initially believes that he had come to rob him, but eventually deduces that they are actually looking for work. Sadie walks in moments later, having just completed a supply run, and is shocked to see the player holding them at gunpoint. Although Jake clarifies that the player is only there to help, Sadie continues to act suspiciously and warns the player that should they betray her or Jake, she would kill them without a second thought. Still, Sadie is appreciative of the player's assistance. The player can then visit the Adlers again and receive more missions from them. Sadie will give missions during nighttime, while her husband is available during the daytime. Their missions give positive honor, which is pretty good. So that was just a little bit of an online thing. Sadie and her husband, course, appearing online, which is actually kind of cool. You see her husband, and he dies, and pretty much you don't get to see any of him in the original Red Dead 2 story, but it's cool you kind of see him in online. That's nice. Then going into the main story events in the Culture chapter, mere days before the Great Game's opening, their house is robbed by the O'Driscoll boys, who killed Jake. Sadie had hidden the cellar for days in order to avoid the same fate. Members of the Vanderlyn gang, Micah, Dutch, and Arthur, lifelong enemies of the O'Driscoll gang, come across the homestead that Sadie is hiding in, trying to find supplies. Dutch goes to negotiate with the owners, but they turn out to be O'Driscolls, who are killed by the trio after the guns were drawn. After hearing the gunfire, Sadie comes out of the cellar to find Micah looting her house, and the two to get confrontation, leading to her threatening him with a knife and knocking a lantern over, Micah being the one, setting a fire to the house. Before Dutch and Arthur calm both of them down, Dutch decides to take her back to their camp, and despite their wanted status, she decides to stay with them. If Arthur visits the non-fighting member's cabin, he can see Mary Beth trying to confront Sadie over her losses. Arthur can also offer Sadie food, but Sadie will reject the offer. In the aftermath of Genesis, Charles and Arthur express their sympathy for her and suspect she will be reluctant to eat, which is just kind of some side things you could see in, if you're walking around the Coulter, I guess. In the Horseshoe Overlook chapter, during this chapter, Sadie does not have much significance, although she could be seen in a few events around camp. These events include her being confronted by one of the women in the camp of Hosea over her husband's death, and before the mission paying a social call. A scene can play out where she pretends to give the O'Driscoll prisoner, Kieran Duffy, a plate of food while he's tied up, only to throw it onto the ground and storm off in anger. Besides this, she's usually only seen around Pearson's carriage, reluctantly helping him with the cooking, and is commonly found sitting on one of the rocks around camp, mourning her husband. After Sean's homecoming party, she will take part in camp chores and more actively greet Arthur more enthusiastically. She is sometimes left out by the other women in camp. However, she never takes part in their singing at night and rather sits behind the wagons alone. In the Clemens Point chapter, and this is kind of what I was saying, she's not entirely relevant to the story until late. Late in the story is when she really becomes a prevalent character. So that's how it is. Sadie's next contact with Arthur is when he catches her in an argument with Pearson. Soon after he sets up his carriage again, due to her becoming dissatisfied with cutting vegetables all day, she explains that she and her husband used to share the work and begs to have something else to do. Arthur agrees to take her to town to run a few errands. Where they get to Rhodes, Arthur posts a letter for Pearson when Sadie buys supplies from the general store, as well as a new outfit for herself. On the way back to camp, they are attacked by Lemoyne raiders, and Sadie helps Arthur to fight them off. For the rest of the chapter, she is seen walking around camp, and will greet Arthur more often than most members of the camp do when walking past them. Sadie also becomes an active armed member of the gang at this point. She can be seen cleaning her repeater and taking up camp guard duties. Arthur can also play Five Finger Fillet with her after after the mission. Blessed are the peacemakers. So you kind of see in the Clemens Point chapter, slowly but surely, Sadie starts to become a more and more working member of the gang, and kind of starts to do more guard work and whatnot. So that's really when she, in the Clemens Point chapter, is really when she starts to be more prevalent. So before the O'Driscolls saw, moving on to the Saint Denis chapter, before the O'Driscolls saw it on Shady Belle, Sadie's seen asking Dutch to take her robbing with the rest of the gang, and talking to Arthur about her own departure from a civilized society, which is a very interesting conversation. Almost immediately after she voices those concerns, the O'Driscolls assault the camp. Despite Arthur begging her to get inside with the rest of the gang, she refuses and slays many O'Driscolls with the help of Arthur. And of course, she's out for revenge for those O'Driscolls, because they killed her husband. Of course, that's kind of a whole thing with her, during the story and whatnot. So, in the Guarma chapter, after the disappearance of the main gang members, Sadie, with Charles' help, takes the women and non-fighting members to the abandoned town of Lakay. Knowing that Shady Belle will be searched, she and the remaining gang manage to steal the bodies of Jose Matthews and Lenny Summers from the morgue and bury the two in Blue Water Marsh. She also deposits a letter from Caroline and Shady Belle, which is her alias. It's to know the Pinkertons don't get too suspicious. Of course, you read the letter if you go to Shady Belle after you get back from Guarma. To help the gang reunite at Lakay, after the return of the core gang members, she helps fight against the Pinkerton assault on Lakay. Afterwards, when Dutch refuses to rescue John, Sadie agrees to help Abigail and Arthur rescue him, asking the latter to meet her in Saint Denis. In the Beaver Hollow chapter, when Arthur meets Sadie in Saint Denis, she tells him that before they do anything, they need to make sure that John is still at Sislica Penitentiary. In order to do so, she has Arthur scout the place from above in a hot air balloon with a turtle bullard. After Arthur manages to confirm that John is indeed there, I like the wording in the wiki. It's indeed there. That's funny. It's just a little funny thing in the wiki. He sees that Sadie is being chased by the O'Driscolls near Annesburg. Arthur and Sadie manage to fight off the O'Driscolls, although it costs Bullard his life. Soon afterwards, Arthur and Sadie decide to infiltrate Sislica Penitentiary in order to rescue John Marston. Although Abigail wishes to join them, Arthur and Sadie both decide otherwise. The pair row out to the prison and silently kill a guard in the watchtower. Arthur snipes two guards who he believes are with John. However, when he and Sadie go to investigate, they find out that John was not one of the prisoners there, and the guard holds Sadie out at gunpoint. Only to two in turn to be held at gunpoint by Arthur and taken hostage. Arthur demands John's release in exchange for sparing Milliken, which is one of the guards, and they, eventually they free John at the hostage will. With that, the prison guards attack Arthur, John, and Sadie, but the trio manage to fight their way off the island to take John back to camp. At some point, Como Driscoll is arrested and sentenced to hang in Saint Denis. Dutch, Sadie, and Arthur work to ensure that the hanging goes ahead, with Colm escaping the previous two times. With the rescue attempt sabotaged, Colm was hanged, although Sadie opens fire on the O'Driscolls regardless, leading to a firefight. Near the end of Chapter 6, Sadie asks Arthur for assistance in ending the O'Driscolls once and for all to avenge the death of her late husband. If Arthur chooses to help Sadie, he says that in return she should help ensure the Marston family's safety for when the time comes. When she accepts once at Hanging Dog Ranch, she'll request that if Arthur finds a fat man with a beard, he should let Sadie kill him, as he is her husband's killer. After slaying what remains of the O'Driscolls with Arthur, Sadie brutally murders the one who killed her husband, who briefly led the remaining O'Driscolls, and that's the mission you guys were seeing towards the beginning of this video, the one where they went to Hanging Dog Ranch. That was the beginning thing here, so that's interesting. Sadie's, and I chose to have gameplay. Just a little bit of background here. I chose to have gameplay over that mission, just because I think it's a very important mission. If you choose to do it, it's an optional mission, but I think it's a very important mission for Sadie, and especially kind of closure for her and the O'Driscolls. So I think it's pretty important to do that. So that's interesting. That's why I chose to show the interesting gameplay. So. Sadie is also present at the battle against the army at the Cornwall refinery. When it is over, she offers to help bring the mortally wounded Eagle Flies back to his father, but Arthur declines her help. She later participates in the gang's final robbery of the train carrying U.S. Army payroll. She's seen working with Cleet, fending off the approaching U.S. Army soldiers. Later, Abigail is captured by Agent Milton, and with the rest of the gang abandoning her, Sadie goes with Arthur to save her. However, Sadie gets captured, and Arthur is forced to confront Milton himself. Milton sneaks up behind Arthur and holds him at gunpoint. After a struggle between Arthur and Milton, Abigail manages to break free and shoots Milton in the head with Sadie's revolver, allowing the three to escape. On the way back to the camp, Arthur stops and tells both of them to go to Jack and Tilly after exchanging one last sorrowful goodbye, during which Sadie stays silent but expresses grief. Sadie takes Abigail to Copperhead Landing as Arthur goes to confront the gang where he will die at either the hands of Micah or his tuberculosis, but not to before he helps John get to safety with his final act of his life. After John reunites with his family and before they parted ways, Sadie and John vowed one day to kill Micah for his treachery should they ever find him. Of course, you know that promise is kept. In the Beecher's Hope chapter, in the epilogue, epilogue. I was getting confused on which one it was called. Several years after the gang's disbandment, Sadie had become a successful bounty hunter in 1907. She sends a letter to Pronghorn Ranch asking for John to meet her in Valentine. As John walks in the saloon, Sadie is seen bickering with the two patrons named Bubba and Jeb. She stabs Bubba in the hand and smashes a drinking glass into Jeb's face. Sadie asks John to join her in capturing bounties, and they set off to find Nathan, Kirk, and Strawberry, the mission we're seeing right now. After the two captures various bounties, including Shane Finley, Ramon Cortez, and Marshall Thurwell, Sadie goes to John's ranch to announce she found what is Micah's henchman, Cleet. John, Sadie, and Charles head to Strawberry where Cleet was last seen. The trio find Cleet and interrogate him, going as far as to putting him in the gallows to reveal Micah's location. After threatening his life, Cleet finally cracks and tells him that Micah is at Mount Hagen. John can choose to either spare his life or hang him, or if he spares him, Sadie will get frustrated and decide to kill Cleet regardless. But either way, in my opinion, I think Cleet deserves to be hung just because of his acts with Micah and whatnot. So, and Sadie, along with Charles, head to the mountain to kill Micah. As they travel up the mountain, they confront the vanguard of Micah's gang. Charles is shot in the shoulder and wounded, so he stays behind as John and Sadie push on. Fighting off another group, a gang member manages to stab Sadie in the stomach during a scuffle before being shot by Charles, still alive. Sadie stays behind with Charles and asks John to go on without her. Alone, John and Micah engage in a shootout at the top of the mountain, with neither man giving an inch. Sadie, clutching her wound, appears and breaks the deadlock. However, Dutch reveals himself and Micah gets the upper hand, allowing him to take Sadie hostage. After exchanging words with John, Dutch abruptly shoots Micah in the chest, mortally wounding him and freeing Sadie before John shoots Micah repeatedly, killing him and avenging Arthur's death once and for all, and getting his competence for betraying the Vanderlyn gang to the Pinkertons. Dutch leaves without saying a word, and John returns from Micah's cabin with a large sack full of gold and money. Supporting each other, Sadie and John leave the camp, and Micah's corpse behind. After returning to the ranch, Sadie attends John and Abigail's wedding and celebrates in a beautiful way the others despite her stab wound. Sometime after, Charles leaves and she gives her farewells to her old friend, while she stays to recover. Afterwards, Sadie also bids farewell to the Marston family as she leaves the ranch. Though Sadie expressed her self-interest in moving to South America in the American Venom last mission, her fate is left unknown, and it's kind of left up in the air. But I would like to think that Sadie did indeed go to the South America and find. I think she was saying she wanted to settle down with somebody if eventually. I'd like to think that her plans kind of went through there. So I'd like to think that, and Sadie got a nice happy ending. Same thing with Charles. I think he said he was going to go up to Canada. I don't know if it was Canada or somewhere else, but I hope those two plans went accordingly, as they were one of the last members of the Vanderlyn gang. So I just hope that their plans went through. So that's what I like to think. They both got a happy ending. And depending on how long the character analysis is, you guys all know this. Sometimes I'll go into the extra to see what the wiki has to offer. So I'm going to go into a little bit of extra here. Sadie's appearance in 1899. Sadie's a slender young woman, likely in her late 20s or early 30s, with dirty blonde hair and brown eyes. She also has a scar above her right eye. Sadie initially wears dresses that were given to her by the gang, but eventually switches to more practical clothing, wearing a yellow shirt with brown trousers, suspenders, brown boots, and a light brown hat from the start of Chapter 3 to Chapter 5. From Chapter 5 onward, she wears a white shirt, blue neckerchief, and black trousers, along with dark brown gun belt with 2 holsters and a brown belt with golden buckle with star. And I like the 1907 appearance. She wears clothing more acting of a bounty hunter. I think kind of like what she's wearing here in this cutscene. If you're watching, just the kind of bounty hunter look. She's as I was saying, she wears clothing more acting of a bounty hunter, usually seen in a brown leather duster coat, a white shirt, a black neckerchief, black trousers, black leather chaps, dark brown boots, and a bandolier. For John and Abigail's wedding, she wears a white blouse and a long red skirt with a black belt with golden buckle. So yeah, that's her appearance. She has a nice appearance. Like I said, I like the 1907 appearance in the epilogue when she wears more of her bounty hunter attire. So that's nice. And yeah, that's Sadie Adler. Very short character analysis. It wasn't the longest one I ever did, of course. We had some longer ones in the past, but I think she's also a very important character to cover here on the Red Dead 2 character analysis. She was one of the more important characters, like I was saying, especially towards the end, as you guys saw. And yeah, she was a good character. Plus, I like Sadie. She's a good character. Like I was saying there. I like her personality and whatnot. Like I said, especially in the epilogue, she really is cool. Like as the whole bounty hunter thing. So I really enjoy that part. When we get to that, then her part. That was nice. I like her as a character. She's a good character. So I figured do a character analysis on her. And yeah, so that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's video, character analysis. It's just kind of going through. I don't have too much characters I want to do, but like I was saying in the beginning of this video, kind of want to cover all the important characters that I want to in Red Dead 2. Then we'll be moving on to a different character analysis. I already have a bunch in mind, so we're definitely not running out of character analysis ideas. So we'll definitely be coming up with a new one shortly. Just trying to cover all the bases here with Red Dead 2, just because it's one of my favorite games of all time, or game series. I like the first one, of course, too. So just want to make sure I cover all the bases with characters and whatnot. So we just probably have a couple more characters. I'll have to check my list, but not that much left. But you'll all in good time, So it's all in good time. But yeah, for now that'll wrap it up. Comment down below what you guys think of Sadie Adler. If she's a good character, whatever you think of her, you think she's did good in the story. Whatever it is it may be, comment all the good stuff below. The usual stuff in the character analysis. Whatever you think of the character. This case, of course, being Sadie Adler. Comment down below what you think of her. And yeah, all doing good on the channel. Just busy, busy work. Real busy here on this channel this time of year. So just trying to get everything in order. Yeah, just the stuff. But yeah, all that being said, make sure to subscribe for more content. Like the video, all good stuff. Discord, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, links in the description. And yeah, with all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.